joining us at YMCA Calgary's 119th report to the community. My name is Ken Lima-Coelho, Vice President, Community Engagement here at YMCA Calgary, and I will be your virtual MC this evening. Now, in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional territories and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which include the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Abskapi Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. We are all treaty people. And as treaty people, it is our shared responsibility to not only reconcile, but acknowledge the truth of what has happened and continues to happen to Indigenous people in this country. Today is May 5th, Red Dress Day, also the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. At YMCA Calgary, we believe it's not enough to just acknowledge the trauma suffered by our Indigenous sisters and brothers, but actively work for change. We're proud to be signatories to a national YMCA Statement of Reconciliation. It strengthens our dedication to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and communities in Canada, and it is reflective of the Y's commitment to foster a sense of belonging for all through the values of inclusiveness, accountability, and collaboration. Now, before we get into this afternoon's proceedings, I hope you had a chance to look at our 2020 annual report. It was sent to you this morning with the login information you received. You can also find a digital version on the YMCA Calgary website or right on your smartphone through YMCA Calgary's mobile app. You can also find a digital version. We hope you do take a time to take a look at that. It's a beautiful piece put together by Stephen Bellard on our team and a collaboration with all of our teammates here at YMCA Calgary. The report is full of facts and figures to share and also has some of the relevant financial information about the organization, some of which we'll be reviewing shortly. And now we'll move into the official business portion of the meeting. I'll ask everyone to please mute your devices so we can move through this section in a smooth fashion. Now, we certainly have the opportunity for questions. I'm sure people have questions on how the Y is doing, and we will get to those. What we'll do is we'll address those questions after President and CEO Shannon Durham's update a bit later in the program, and questions will be accepted through the Q&A function on this platform. I'll tell you more about that when we get closer. I'm now going to turn the virtual podium over to the chair of YMCA Calgary's Board of Directors, Pat White, who will navigate us through the business portion of the meeting. Hi, Pat. Pat, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us here this evening. In the business portion of today's meeting, in accordance with our bylaws, we have three things that we need to accomplish. We need to approve the audited financial statements for 2020, we need to approve appointment of an auditor, and we need approval for a new member of our board of directors. As you know, by having received the invitation to this meeting and by joining us here today, all voting for these motions must occur through proxy due to the virtual nature of the meeting. The proxy framework was approved and set up by the board of directors, and the proxies have already been received. So really what I'm saying is the voting has already occurred. The proxies have been validly submitted and received prior to today's meeting. What those proxies do is they empower myself as chair of the board, or failing me, Zane Belge, as vice chair of the board, to really act as your proxy and vote on your behalf as directed through the proxy. If specific direction has not been provided on the three items, we are charged to vote in favor of the motions in support of those resolutions. We will bring all of the proxies forward once all three motions have been provided and seconded. So we'll kind of bring the proxies forward all together all at once. And I'll let you know that we've also pre-arranged for those motions to be submitted and seconded by members of the organization. That will be done through the Q&A function, so I'll just let you know there's a little bit of a time delay due to the technology. It's only 10 to 12 seconds. So with that explanation, it gives me great pleasure to call to order the 119th Annual General Meeting of the Calgary YMCA. The Board of Directors has also previously confirmed that quorum for this meeting will be 15 members, as represented through valid proxies. I have received confirmation that we have indeed received sufficient numbers of proxies that were validly submitted. I've also received confirmation that notice of the meeting was properly communicated as directed through the bylaws. So I am able to declare that the meeting has been properly called and constituted for the purpose of transacting business. Phew. So we'll start the business portion off, as we always do, with a little bit of reflection from the chair of the board. And you know, this is the part where the chair gets to talk about all the great things that happened last year and how excited we are with the plans going forward. And you know what? Some things to be proud of did happen last year. And I am very excited. I can hardly wait for some of the intention of our year going forward. But it's no surprise to you if I say this has been a hell of a year, right? For all of us, for the organization and for each one of us. A year ago, we were conducting our first ever virtual AGM. And it was challenging and stressful. Like, how do we properly do this? How do we make sure we're following the rules so the business gets conducted? And what do we say? Right? Like, what do we say in terms of our plan going forward? There were so many unknowns. So here we are a year later. We're still virtual. Disappointing, but you know, it is what it is. I'm convinced there's light at the end of the tunnel. And we know a whole lot more about pandemics than we did. And we also know a whole lot more about how to conduct our lives virtually. But you know what? There's still unknowns. It's still a little bit challenging and stressful. You know what? Despite some profound obstacles, I can assure you that this organization has endured. We've done everything we can to reach out and meet the needs of people in the community, to work in partnership with government, to understand the restrictions and the requirements of Alberta Health so that we can conduct our business properly, and to show up for the community. I am so proud of the organization for the way this has been conducted. You'll soon hear from Shannon Dorham, the CEO and president of Calgary Y, and she'll walk you through a little more specifically what the last year has entailed and what the plans are to open up properly, to rebuild, to renew. It's been based on really sound governance processes, systems, and an incredibly passionate team. Also, the past year and the work going forward has been really grounded in 3 principles, and I want to share those principles with you because I think they really represent this organization. The first one is people first. All of the actions that have been taken, the decisions that have been made have been based on what is best for the health, the safety, and the wellness of our people. And by our people, I mean our staff, I mean our volunteers, our members, the participants in our programs, the kids and the families in the child care, and the communities where we operate. The second is do the right thing. Do the right thing in terms of the requirements, the restrictions, do the right thing in terms of decisions based on good judgment, data, analysis, good planning, and do the right thing based on who we are, our values, our mission, our vision, and our purpose. Why are we here as an organization? And the third principle is sustainability. We are here for the long term, and we've always got an eye to what's our greatest impact on the community. This is the 119th AGM, and I say, you know, here's to the next 119 years. I will share with you candidly, from the board's perspective and working closely with management, this has not been an easy year. This has been hard. This has been hard to pivot quickly, adhere to restrictions, close down appropriately. We've had to go through layoffs of staff 3 times in the last year. We've had to shut down programs that we know make a big difference in the lives of individuals and their families. And then there's been some serious, impactful decisions like the one that we had to take in February to close the Eau Claire facility as a health and wellness facility permanently. Those are tough things to have to work through and do. We're going to talk about the 2020 financials in a minute. They're in the report to the community that Ken referenced. They tell the story from a financial perspective. And we're not out of the woods yet. Like, everything's still closed, right? New restrictions were announced yesterday. As a province, we're still in the grips of wave 3 of the virus. So this is going to take time and hard work to recover from. But you know what? Recover we will. And in addition to everything that I've described and the hard work and the commitment to rebuilding and rejuvenating this organization, we are also excited today to share with you Navigate, our 10-year strategic direction. And I think you will find it more relevant than ever in terms of what's possible and what's needed in this city. More on that later. So you know what? It's going to take all of us working together, supporting each other, innovating, rebuilding, and it's going to be worth it. So to all of you that have joined us today, who continue to support us and see the Y as such an important part of the fabric of Calgary, I say thank you. And to the staff, the volunteers that are with us today, I say thank you. I can't actually find the words to properly express the gratitude and respect that I have for you. And that my board colleagues have for you, absolutely. So I'm going to take us to a video now. You know, the Community Y has been able through this closure and through this pandemic to take a couple of its key programs and continue to offer them by going online. And so this is a really great video that tells the story of how they were able to do that and some of the impact that it's had. I think you'll enjoy it.
It's definitely give me an opportunity to learn some things I didn't know about, things that will get me ready for my future so I can be successful, and just getting to meet some new people.
Community Y is really about helping people thrive. And so working with children, families, youth, really helping them build towards success. So our program areas are language instruction for newcomers to Canada, so that's LINK. And so we work with adult newcomers, teaching them English and helping them to integrate into Canadian societies. So YMAP is our YMCA Achievement Program, and so that's for high school and young adult newcomer youth. So many of them are coming to us who haven't really interacted with people outside of their home culture and their home language before, and this is our opportunity to bring them together, really focus again on helping them to be successful in their lives in Canada.
Being a YMAP kind of increased my confidence, and the people that I would be around once or twice a week, I would then feel more confident around them, and then feel more confident around people who I didn't know. One day we'll be talking about like Calgary and like what we can learn or where places we can go, and then another we'll be doing like finances or budgeting. So it's like well-rounded. It feels like a family because the program leaders are so kind and sweet, and the friends that I've made there are still my friends now when I made them like in grade 10, and I'm hoping that I'll still continue to know them into like the YMAP Infinity program as well as like outside of my life.
Our other area would be Indigenous programs, and so with recreation and education and cultural programming, really building that sense of pride amongst children, youth, and adults in Indigenous culture, connecting them to their Indigenous culture. A really unique program that we have is our drum and dance program. So it's an opportunity that we can have families come together, and it's actually really interesting because it is a family program. So not very many programs do we have at YMCA Calgary where we've got adults and children like babies even, all interacting together in the same space. And so we teach traditional drumming and traditional dancing. The fourth program involved with Community YMCA is youth engagement, working with youth in a variety of different ways. So from math tutoring, which is really interesting because it's not just the math tutoring that's important, it's also the relationship that our tutors and our youth are building with each other. And what our tutors are teaching them is like, you can be good at math, to put the work in, but let me show you how you can be successful. But don't just leave it there. That success you can build on into other areas of your life. You know, we're starting to hear increasing case counts, and you know, we're hearing things close and close and close. and us wondering like, what are we going to do in response, and knowing that for so many of our participants, our programs are kind of a lifeline for them. And so wondering what we were going to do, and basically it was just like the next week we were like, well, we're going to move online.
I was just checking my emails and I found like this YMCA tutoring math program, and I was like, I need this. And so I checked it out, and we just had to fill in a form to get in. It was organized and nice. Like, we just talked a little bit, and then we're sent out to like breakout rooms with our tutors. And at first my camera was actually off, but my tutor was like kind, and he was like explaining everything, and then eventually I was like more comfortable to open my camera, and also it was comforting. It's definitely something needed, so I feel like I'm just so happy that I have a tutor, and I'm so grateful for him.
You know, sometimes we get focused on the curriculum and what we want to accomplish in the day, but I think really recognizing that everything comes back to relationship. And so really fostering the relationship between the youth, between the participants in our program, whether it be adults, youth, children, helping them to feel that sense of belonging, and being able to provide real guidance for them as they make decisions going forward.
I told you that was a great video. Like, isn't it amazing? You know, as I've been involved with the Y, and I've come to understand the community Y more deeply, and been able to observe and participate with some of the programs and get to know the leaders and talk to some of the participants, it has increased my commitment and my drive to support this organization huge. In terms of the impact that it has in this city, from a energy perspective, resources perspective, like as simple as if my dues, so I can go to yoga class and go upstairs to work out, help make those kinds of programs available in this city, then I'm like all in. Okay, business part. So the agenda was circulated in advance and posted on the website. And as I said, 3 matters to be voted on: the financials for 2020, the appointment of the auditor, and a new member of the board. I'm going to now pass the meeting over to Zane Velji, Vice Chair of the board. He will walk us through the relevant data and those 3 motions on behalf of Anna Alderson, Chair of the Audit and Investment Committee, and Lisa Worthington, Chair of the People and Governance Committee. Zane.
Hey, thank you, Pat. Good evening, everyone. Really appreciate you handing it over for the fun part, the business part of it. So let me jump right into it. The audited financial statements have been reviewed by the Audit and Investment Committee chaired by Anna Alderson and approved by the Board of Directors. They were circulated via the YMCA website in advance of this meeting, and summarized financial information is also included in the annual report. As a member and on behalf of the Board of Directors, I move that the audited financial statements of YMCA Calgary as at and for the year ended December 31st, 2020 be approved. Can I have a seconder? And I should mention that this is the moment in time that we might have that slight delay. So Ken will interact with me in a second as I ask for that seconder to come through. And then you, of course, at home should be able to see it on your screen.
Well, good news. Steve Elliott has come through for us, and he has seconded the motions.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken. Steve Elliott will be the seconder through the Q&A function. I confirm that Steve Elliott, a member, has seconded the motion through the Q&A function. And as noted previously, we will wait until all formal motions are put before the meeting before outlining the voting results. Alrighty, our next obligation is the appointment of auditors. As a member and on behalf of the Board of Directors, I move that the firm Deloitte be reappointed as our auditors until the next annual general meeting or until their successors are appointed. Can I once again have a seconder?
All right, we're waiting for the magic buttons to be pressed. You've got a special seconder on this one. Zane, you'll tell us about her in just a minute when she pops through. This is kind of like the 7-second delay they used to give Don Cherry on Hockey Night in Canada, just in case. So Zane, you're on. You better be on best
I'm on the
behavior.
same strict orders. Yeah, I hear you, Ken.
There we go. Patricia has seconded the motion.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ken. I confirm that Patricia Pelton, a member, has seconded the motion through the Q&A function. Again, as noted previously, we will wait until all formal motions are put before the meeting before outlining the voting results. Now, Ken did mention we have a special seconder in Patricia, and for those that you don't know, it's actually wonderful that Patricia is able to join us today at our AGM. In addition to seconding this motion, which she's just done, I'm very pleased to let you know that Patricia is also the president of the World Alliance of YMCAs, the first Canadian in the global YMCA's 177-year history. Wow, to hold that office. So Patricia, thank you so much for, well, first of all, seconding that motion, but for your incredible leadership at the global stage and carrying that baton for this country and this community at that world stage, and for all the excellent work that you do. Alrighty, now representing my board colleague Lisa Worthington, chair of our People and Governance Committee, I'll now provide that particular report. So the first order of business in that section is to give a profound thanks to a graduating director and Pat's immediate successor as chair of the board. Trevor Gardner has given us nearly a decade, 9 years of his time, his talents, his passion for the organization through his calm and steady leadership. He's been through the ramp up and the dizzying highs of an organization like ours, rapidly doubling in size, to the challenges of the past year in his capacity as past chair. And through it all, he's been an absolute champion of the YMCA, its values, and has embodied its commitment to the community. Trevor, we can't give you presents right now in this virtual moment, or hugs for that matter, but please know how grateful we are for everything that you have done, and we'll continue to recognize your amazing commitment to community and your amazing commitment in person when we get a chance. So thank you so much again for your tremendous sense of commitment, leadership, and community. There are 2 other directors who are also departing from the board this year, and this is a great opportunity to thank them for their wonderful service as well. Sabrina Beauchamp and Peter Taylor have provided so much good counsel to the organization, and their many contributions are to be celebrated, not just for the YMCA, but for the contributions thereon, in the community. Now, in a normal circumstance, we'd call both Sabrina and Peter up to the stage and bestow gifts upon them too. But for now, please accept our thanks and our appreciation for your contributions, your counsel, and a very well done job to the YMCA Board of Directors. Alrighty, next on to our renewing director. I would like to acknowledge Paul Wright will be renewing as approved at a previous board meeting. We thank you, Paul, for your ongoing service to the board. We'd also like to acknowledge our continuing directors. Thanks to the following volunteers for their continuing service to the YMCA board. And I'm going to read out the names that you have in front of you because why not? Why not have me audibly recite some of those names as well? I love announcing some of my colleagues. So Minu Alawalia, Anna Alderson, James Anderson, Roger Chaffin, Rod Hurd, Tom Horvath, Kim Jones, Linda McLean, Ed Rinn, Damon Tenzola, Lisa Worthington, Pat White, James K. Gray as a lifetime director, and myself, Zane Velji. We'd also like to thank Adam Pekarski, who will extend his term on the board by 1 year as approved at a previous board meeting. So Adam, thank you so much for your continuing service and your continuing time with us on the board. Finally, we have a director rejoining the board after a short absence due to other commitments. We are privileged to have Ross Bentley rejoin the board of directors of YMCA Calgary. As a member and on behalf of the board of directors, I move that the members at this annual general meeting approve the appointment of Ross Bentley as a director. May I have a seconder for this motion?
All right, we're waiting for that beautiful name to pop up to second that motion. Gotta love technology. Here we go. Keeping everyone in suspense, Zane.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good. It's just hanging at a cliffhanger.
Who will it be? There's so many Hollywood productions right now in Calgary. Maybe it's like The Rock No, it's Lisa Worthington, who is chair of the committee. She has done it for us.
You just inflated expectations there. No, I mean, we love Lisa, but thank you, Ken. Lisa Worthington will be the seconder through the Q&A function. I confirm that Lisa Worthington, a member, has seconded the motion through the Q&A function. And again, we'll wait until all formal motions are put before this meeting before outlining the voting results. Thank you to all of our board volunteers who have given their time to the YMCA community, and also thank you to those who will continue their exceptional service to YMCA Calgary. Now that the motions for all formal items of business have been placed before this meeting, I'll pass the meeting to Board Chair Pat White to report on the results of the voting via proxy. Pat?
Thank you, Zane. Thank you, Ken. And you know, Lisa is a rock.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for saying it.
So I am pleased to confirm that all votes received via proxy from members in advance of the meeting are in affirmative with respect to the matters to be voted on. And by raising my hand, I confirm that I vote all proxies of each of the motions that have been placed before this meeting, and confirm that such votes are to be recorded in the positive, in the affirmative, and in the records of the minutes of this meeting.
And in my capacity as a member and vice chair, I hereby declare that all motions are unanimously carried, and direct that an entry to that effect be included in the minutes of this meeting. Thank you, everyone. And with that, the business portion of this meeting has now been concluded. And as a member and on behalf of the board of directors, I move to close the formal business portion of this meeting. Do I have a seconder?
All right, we're waiting on that name to pop in. There it is. Scott Williams, the YMCA Calgary's VP of Health, Safety and Risk, and also a member, has seconded that motion, Zane.
Perfect. And also a rock of the Y community, just so we make mention of that. Thank you, Ken. Scott Williams will be the seconder through the Q&A function. I confirm that Scott Williams, a member, has seconded through the Q&A function. All in favor? Perfect. I confirm that Pat White has exercised her voting power via proxy to vote in favor of the termination of the formal business of this meeting. The motion is carried and the formal meeting is now closed. Thank you, everyone. And on behalf of Pat White and our board of directors, I'll now turn things over back to Ken to help us continue the program. Ken, floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you very much, Zane. And yeah, folks, we know this is an extraordinary time. Pat spoke to that earlier for our community, our city, our world. In a moment, I will be turning things over to Shannon Durham, the president and CEO of YMCA Calgary, to give you an update on the charity and what's next. And I know that Pat referenced the closure of the Eau Claire Y. That was a very difficult decision. We know there's already questions, actually. Jim Laycraft, one of the members, is interested to hear what we've done, why we've done it, and sort of where it would lead next. I know Shannon will speak to some of that. And then we'll also open things up to questions. So we'll have that opportunity. Let me just give you a sense about the questions, though, because in this virtual format, there are some limitations to what we can do just based on the nature of the technology. You'll have the ability to ask questions once Shannon concludes her remarks through the Q&A function on your screen. Now, this technology doesn't allow for verbal questions from our guests, so the Q&A function will be our method of choice. And then as the moderator, I'll certainly pose questions to Shannon for her response. Now, please note one thing. Follow-up questions live during the meeting are not possible, once again, due to a built-in time delay. You got a sense of that while we were doing the motions. But we are certainly happy to get back to you later if you need additional clarity on any of the questions that are posed through the Q&A. And just identify yourself as a questioner and we can connect with you back. Again, thank you for your flexibility as we tackle this meeting in a virtual environment. It is truly appreciated. Now I welcome Shannon Durham, our president and CEO, to make her presentation. Shannon, welcome. Go ahead, Shannon, you can fire away.
And sorry, I wasn't sure if I had the red square. Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, let me join Pat and Ken in thanking you for joining us, our second virtual AGM. And as much as we've become good at these virtual events, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we're looking forward to doing this in real life next year. And I just have to say, I miss seeing so many of you in our branches and out at programs. So I hope that happens really soon. I'd also like just to take a moment, as Pat did, to recognize the so many people who have supported us, cheered us on, walked beside us to make sure that we could be here for the community in a really difficult year. My heartfelt thanks goes out to our board, including a special thank you to you, Trevor, who's celebrating the end of his board term tonight. Our donors, our members, our participants, our partners, our volunteers, and all those who are cheering us on, and especially important thank you to our staff. You have all given so much, and I thank you deeply for leading us through a challenging time, but what I'm sure will be a hopeful one. And we're starting to see that with vaccines ramping up. So when I reflect on the year that was 2020 and where we are so far this year, I think it's fair to say the only constant really has been change. And to be honest, we are still in a mode, as Ken said, where we're doing our best to serve the community amongst some fairly significant operational challenges. So I'd like to share a little bit more really about what that means for us right now and give you a little bit of a behind the curtain look here. So as you might recall, our first wave of COVID between March and June, all of our services were closed. And as soon as we were able, our fearless childcare team remobilized to ensure families had access to high quality care. This team has continued to operate through very tricky circumstances and with great compassion. I truly believe, much like our healthcare workers, teachers, and so many other frontline staff, that these staff, our childcare staff, deserve our admiration and our heartfelt thanks for their incredible service to the community. In that same spirit, as you've heard, many of our teams moved online and have continued to offer services in the virtual world. And as you heard about through Jason in the video, our community outreach team, the Indigenous group, the LINK program, youth development have all continued to run virtually. We've offered online arts and fitness programs, and those continue to be available, especially as we're shut down. And those will be actually ramping up in the coming weeks with the great leadership of our operational team. I've had the privilege of popping into some of these programs, including the Indigenous Drum and Dance program, which you saw in the video. And while my dancing hasn't improved, I can tell you I have a newfound respect for the skills it takes to plan and run a program in that way. So my thanks goes out to our community team and the Indigenous group for that. As of this evening, as you probably know, all of our health and wellness branches are closed by government order. Our talented program leaders have been mobilizing what offers they could. We went outside as long as we could, and as of today, effectively, that's no longer allowed. But the moment we're able, we'll get back to that. We do, as of this point, anticipate being able to offer day camps this summer, something I know that so many kids and their parents need, although we're still awaiting a government decision on Camp Chief Hector. If we are not able to run overnight camp, we will mobilize a series of Plan B activities, which I know will be just as much fun. And to leave the what are we doing now section on a high note, I'm thrilled to let you know we're in the process of launching an exciting development experience called the Youth Leadership Institute, featuring its very own dean, my colleague Alma, to help our YMCA leaders build practical and leadership skills for the future. So there's certainly lots to celebrate there. So I'm sure many of you are wondering, what does this mean to our bottom line? And as Pat mentioned, the annual report is available to you from last year, but certainly ongoing closures has brought financial pressure that we're continuing to manage. Our workforce, just to give you perspective, is just half of what it was 14 months ago. And right now we've moved into a smaller team, what we call our essential team, which is really the sort of minimum spec to keep the building safe and ready to reopen and to carry through some of those key activities, as you've heard. And this allows us to manage our resources as efficiently as possible. And I just have to say thank you to the many sound years of fiscal management from boards and leadership teams before us, providing us now with the reserves that we are drawing from to navigate through this time. We have benefited greatly from the Canadian emergency wage and rent subsidies, which are helping to offset the losses of the earned revenue we rely on. We've also accelerated our philanthropic and government relations efforts to optimize available funding. And we've launched a new monthly giving program called UP. And if you haven't had, this is my plug, the opportunity to learn about this program, I would highly encourage you to reach out to us. This is a great new initiative. We'd love to have you join us in building sustainable philanthropic funds for our YMCA. I think it's also important to tell you at this point, we do intend to reopen all 6 of our health and wellness facilities as soon as financially viable and safe to do so. And really, we're waiting for a government okay to do that. And for those that are following the staged reopening plan, that happens sometime between stage 3 and 4, depending on how those plans get written. So we'll be watching for that. And we'll be more focused than ever in providing exceptional experiences when we reopen, knowing that Calgarians need us more than ever. So maybe what I'll just do, and Jim, I hear your question around Eau Claire. I just want to maybe pause there for a moment. We do have a page on our website dedicated to the decision around Eau Claire. It has a series of very detailed key messages around why we made the decision. And ultimately, at the end of the day, maybe I'll just reinforce that this was not just a pandemic decision. This is a decision that we certainly didn't take lightly and was building over a period of about 5 years or more. And ultimately, with the changes in downtown, which are many, as you know, this facility was not viable in its current operation, and certainly happy to answer questions offline. If folks want to get in touch, I'm very happy to have a conversation, but would direct you to look at those frequently asked questions on our website. They are very detailed, and I think we'll answer a lot of the questions that we have. But in the spirit of that, I know people are probably wondering what happens next with Eau Claire. And so right now we're working with a firm that we've chosen through a competitive procurement process, an official process, to give us some guidance on what we do next with the land and the building. So at this point, no decisions have been made, but I can promise you that the board and the management team will do our utmost best to make the best decision for this organization. And as soon as we know what that is, we will communicate that and let you all know. So appreciate the support. This was a very difficult decision and a difficult time for us, but one that was made for the good of the greater association across all of Calgary. So just in closing, I wanted to let you know that even though this has been a very demanding and somewhat uncertain time, or very uncertain time, I'm very confident in our board, in our leadership team, our staff, and the incredible community of supporters that surrounds us. We're building every plans for every letter of the alphabet so that we can bounce back as soon as possible and stronger than ever. And before we transition to Q&A, I just did want to Ken linger and thank Pat White. Pat, you will go down as the board chair through the pandemic, and you have been incredibly supportive to me, to the leadership team, and really leading the board through a very challenging, probably unprecedented time for all of us. So thank you, Pat, sincerely for everything that you've done for us. And with that, we're going to transition into the Q&A portion where we can answer any of your questions through the chat function. So Ken, over to you to facilitate that.
All right, thank you very much. So everyone, as a reminder, questions will happen through the Q&A function on your screen. You can take a look at, there's a little cheat sheet that that Haley has put up there, so you can take a look on how to do it. This technology doesn't allow for verbal questions from our guests, so the Q&A feature will be the best option. Then as moderator, I will pose those questions to Shannon for her response. Again, follow-up questions live during this meeting, not possible, but we are happy to get back to you if you do need additional clarity on any question that is posed through the Q&A. And we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. We're mindful of the time and don't want to keep you through the supper hour. So I welcome any questions now that you might have for Shannon in the Q&A. Shannon, if I would, I'm going to start with one just I'd like to get a sense of myself. What has it been like for you as the president and CEO of the Y to lead through this extraordinary time, to lead the organization?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ken. And if you would have asked me when I stepped into this role if I would have envisioned myself leading through a pandemic, I'm not sure I would have believed you. But there was no manual. There is no manual for how to do this. But what I've heard is lots of great quotes that talk about, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And I think, as an organization, we have grown through this in terms of our skills, our competencies, our resilience. And I have to tell you, and this won't be a surprise to anybody, but what has been just such an incredible show of support and not surprise to me, but is just the amazing efforts of all the people that are involved in this organization. Pat mentioned, how committed she is. We have that multifold across, our donor base, our partners, our staff, our volunteers, and when the moment called, everyone answered. And you don't know that until you're in the moment and you're dealing really with a crisis situation. And we've seen that. And it's a source of pride for me. And I'm very proud of how everybody has shown up. But I would say, Ken, the other complicator for this is that we are dealing with a health crisis as well. It's not safe, really for us to be out and about doing too much. And so, I have such admiration. I mentioned the childcare team that has been going to work every day with a smile on their face and a picture on their lanyard so the kids know what they look like without their masks on. We've seen everybody just go above and beyond. So has really been, I think, a defining moment for the organization. And I'm very grateful, very humbled to be leading the way through this, and just really appreciate all the efforts that have come from every source of support that we have.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've opened up the opportunity for questions. Haven't got any yet. I'm going to ask Shannon one more question. If you do have a question that you'd like to pose through the Q&A function, feel free. This is your moment, and we're happy to take them on any subject. But Shannon, while we're waiting on that to see if there's any more, give me a sense of what do you want to say to our staff and volunteers, because they have really, they've been through the ringer. Some of them have been displaced permanently or temporarily. Some of our volunteers, they fill their cup by being at the Y and helping out, and they're not there right now for all the right reasons. But what would you like to say to our staff and volunteers?
Ken, you're making me a little emotional here. First, I would say I'm so honored to work with you and for you. I've only had one moment where I've had tears during the pandemic, and it was when we went through the first layoff. I care deeply, as you guys know, about every single person that works for us, every single person that volunteers for us. You guys are the lifeline, the heartbeat of this association. People First wasn't an accident when we put it there as a principle. And so I truly am humbled and honored and just so grateful for everything that you guys have done. We called and you answered, and you've given above and beyond. And it sounds so empty to say that, but I hope you know that it comes from the most sincere place. And my promise to you is that we will get through the other side. As Pat said, there is light there, and I believe we will get there. And so I will do whatever I can to support you and to lead us through to that next place where we really will shine again. And so thank you for being on the journey, and thank you for the opportunity to run it with you.
Shannon, we've got a question that somebody posted. Well, it starts with some good news. In light of today's news about age 12 and up being eligible for vaccines starting May 10th, I had my 13-year-old daughter race down the stairs and say, "Daddy, I get the vaccine." This questioner is wondering what impact that might have on Camp Chief Hector, a jewel in the crown of our association, given that we'll have to make a go/no decision pretty quickly here. How could that play into it? Maybe give us a sense of how we're making some decisions around Camp Chief Hector.
Yeah, certainly a really, really good question. So I'll answer it in two ways. The first is to say we've set a deadline for ourselves to make that decision, because as you can imagine, planning for a summer with many hundreds of kids on site requires some lead planning, and also for the staff that are going to join us and get trained up and ready to deliver those experiences. So that deadline for us is May 17th, which is coming quickly. The vaccines are certainly a good news story. However, what I would say is we know the government is watching case counts, hospitalization rates, and ICU numbers. And in order for us to move to stage 4, which is where overnight camping sits, I believe the hospitalization rate number has to be below 150 and declining. So that's where this gets a little bit tricky. So, I certainly don't want to make a call in advance of the internal process we've set up, but I think that's going to be very challenging to get to. So we're planning for camp to run. That's the plan A right now. And as soon as we have some kind of indication on what that will look like, we will certainly communicate that broadly.
Thanks, Shannon. And I know our camp teams are not just going to take no for an answer if overnight camp can't run the way it normally will. They're looking at other plans. What else can we do to give people a wonderful experience? We did Summer Moments last year, which was, an opportunity for family cohort groups to come out and enjoy camp for a few hours. There's lots of different things that we're considering, and we'll certainly communicate those. All right, there's one more question available here, and it's kind of the $1 million question. I'm going to give it to you to answer it because this is what's on everybody's mind. Shannon, this questioner asks, when do you think the Y might be open again?
Oh my gosh, not soon enough. But the reality is, I think we're going to be in this moment. I mean, new restrictions yesterday means that we're going to be in this place for a little while. So we were lucky enough to have a medical expert sit with us and talk about, just the way the world is right now and what we might anticipate. So we know that the effects of the closures take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to see meaningful change, which really takes us into June. So if I had a crystal ball, so nobody hold me to this, I would say we're probably looking at sometime mid-June. We're hoping for early July, but if that gives us, if we get a green light any earlier than that, I will happily take it. But if that was my guess today, that's what I would say.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody for putting your comments and questions forward. We appreciate you taking the time to consider and think about our YMCA and then to ask the questions that are on your mind. Okay, thank you, Shannon. Now a moment we've literally been waiting for a whole while. We've been looking back here a little bit to 2020, but back in the fall of 2020, after many months of hard work, YMCA Calgary actually took a really big step. That was, we revealed our 10-year strategic direction internally to our staff and volunteers. Now, we tried to do the same thing publicly back in 2020. In fact, we tried to do it a couple of times, but due to complications of the pandemic, we had to cancel those events. But no more waiting. It's time now to show you where we are headed as a YMCA in the long term. In a process led partly by myself and with a great trusted colleague who you're going to meet in a minute, YMCA Calgary has fully refreshed our strategy for the next decade. We call it Navigate, YMCA Calgary's 10-year strategic direction. I'd like to introduce my colleague Tanis Cochran now to share it with you. Tanis is the Chief Strategy Officer for YMCA Calgary. Welcome, Tanis.
Great, thanks, Ken. Just a word or two on our process maybe before we play a short video about our new strategic direction. So when we decided to embark on the process of our new strategic direction, we put together a working group comprised of a couple of board members and staff from all levels of our organization. We also hired external counsel to guide us in our work. They were instrumental in helping us consolidate the key findings from our community engagement, our stakeholder interviews, our board retreat, and the results of our literature review. The committee then worked through the consolidated findings and the feedback to narrow our choices and to eventually create the final draft of our new direction. Please enjoy this short video that provides an overview of our new strategic direction.
All right, the hamsters are teeing things up. Here we go.
Hey neighbor, it's good to see you again. It's been an honor to be the neighbor you can count on. The neighbor who has a place for everyone, a space to play, a place to challenge yourself, build resilience, and grow. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we can't take anything for granted, especially each other. So for the next 10 years, we know that our strength is in our community, our ability to come together and be there for each other. So let's do this together. Let's continue doing what we've always done. And although we have over 100 years of experience doing this, we will always take the opportunity to learn from our community. Using these 5 priorities as our pillars, let's keep looking inside to figure out how to be more true to ourselves, while honoring the century of support that's brought us to this point. We will keep improving our community's mental health by providing services that invite opportunities for happiness and health. We will keep ensuring that people can build social connections and decrease feelings of isolation. We will keep helping to increase levels of physical activity at all ages. And we will keep providing many ways for people to meet their health goals. We have a direction. And our path may shift because we may not yet see everything in store for us. But we know that we can tackle the tough moments and meet the challenges because we will be doing it together. And together we will find our way. We've been the neighbor you've counted on for over 100 years. Let's navigate the next 10 together.
I hope everyone enjoyed the video about Navigate and our journey to 2030. At the beginning of the process, we reviewed the mission, the vision, and the values, and knew it was time to update our mission. The values rang true, and we tweaked one word in our vision statement. Next slide, please, Haley. You'll see we added the promise statement as a new artifact, and I'm just going to read it. Our promise: we believe in people. We see their potential. We see strengths in our differences and inspiration in our diversity. We are the neighbor you can count on, a place for everyone, a space to play, to challenge yourself, to build resilience, and to grow. The journey may start with a splash, a bounce, or a crunch under your boots. And if we do our part, it will lead to a healthier, more vibrant community. Your YMCA exists so that everyone has an opportunity to belong. The mission, vision, values, and promise statement are meant to reflect the vast scope of the YMCA and how we show up in the community and how we meet community needs. We hope that when you review them all, you can see how they all tie together and are reflective of today's YMCA. Our roadmap to 2030 then incorporates key community needs, a focus on key groups in our community, and the 5 pillars that will guide our work. Navigate outlines how our strategic choices address specific community needs, which we believe we need to respond to. Supporting people's mental health in service to them being happy and healthy. Ensuring people build social connections and decrease feelings of isolation. Increase levels of physical activity at all ages, and provide numerous ways people can increase their health outcomes. And never has this been more apparent than it is right now. And so with those foundational pieces in mind, it led us to our 5 pillars: a trusted charity, exceptional experiences, we can't do it alone, a place for everyone, and here for the long term. I'm just going to take a few minutes and provide a brief overview of the 5 priorities. The first is a trusted charity. Many of the people interviewed as part of our stakeholder interviews commented on how the how the community trusts the YMCA, whether it is at the individual level through activities like swimming lessons and day camps, or the collective organizational level. This is our #1 priority for a reason. We want to continue to earn that trust, and we have a responsibility to deliver on that trust. And we need everyone contributing in order to sustain our culture of philanthropy. Our membership base provided amazing support when they chose to donate their membership fees during our first closure way back in March of last year. And there are those who continue to do that while their membership continues to be placed on hold. An amazing example of philanthropy in action. Our second pillar is exceptional experiences. This priority speaks to an incredible amount of work and truly is aspirational, and particularly speaks to us around truth and reconciliation, around diversity and social inclusion. And we truly hope an aspirational priority that will resonate with every single person that participates at the YMCA, no matter what that participation looks like. And our third pillar is we can't do it alone. This one resonated in our stakeholder interviews in interesting ways. At times, it was more of a challenge to us to think differently about our assets, about community needs, and how we can do more to intentionally work with others and to meet community needs. I am particularly looking forward to this one and how it might evolve over the next few years. And our fourth pillar is a place for everyone. We are seen as a friendly and welcoming place, whether the largest YMCA in the world or a room in a school that functions as the YMCA for a group of youth after school or at lunch. We are a place where people feel they belong and they feel safe. whether they are challenging themselves by trying a new group fitness class, are away from home for the first time at Camp Chief Hector, or are leaving their first child in one of our childcare centers. We want to continue to challenge ourselves to stretch and to grow in this area, to truly be a place for each and every person. And our last pillar is here for the long term. And you can see some pretty exciting milestones of the next 10 years of our YMCA and in our community on this slide. We know we have been here for over 100 years because of the incredible commitment by staff, volunteers, and board members to serve the community, and because of the tremendous response by the community. We want to navigate through these challenging times, meeting community needs, and in the process, set the foundation for the next 125 years. Thank you to each of you for being part of this journey and this legacy. We hope you see yourself in this new direction, both in terms of who you are now and who you will become as we embark on this new direction together. We know this sets us on an aspirational path for the next 10 years. This is about who we are and who we will become, individually and collectively, in service to our community. Please know this is a 10-year direction, and we have no intention of accomplishing everything in 2021. We are beginning slowly and with intention as we chart our path forward. Thanks very much. Back to you, Ken.
Thank you very much, Tanis, and thank you for your leadership in getting all of us prepared and organized to set a direction, ambitious direction for the next decade. But I will say, if you want to, first of all, if you want to learn more about Navigate, you can head to a very simple website, ymcastrategicplan.ca. ymcastrategicplan.ca. You can look at how we are approaching the next decade here at the Y and submit your ideas on how that might look. And now that you have a sense of our new direction from 2021 to 2030, and I would agree with Tanis, it's ambitious. We're not going to all get it done in the next few months, but we do want to demonstrate that in just a few months, we are making strides on achieving impact through our 5 pillars already. For example, in the area of mental health, let me tell you about YMind. This is a brand new program, brand new to us, that was developed by our friends at the YMCA of Greater Vancouver. YMind is a free 7-week introductory mental wellness program designed to help teens and young adults build valuable skills for coping with stress and anxiety. It's a partnership with the Canadian Mental Health Association of Calgary. It's also our first program as we aim to serve Calgarians more intentionally to support our mental health. And I hope you agree in this National Mental Health Week that the timing could not be better. And we're leaning into this. Shannon Dorham, our president and CEO, who you met earlier, is going to be speaking on a panel about wellness and about mental wellness with the CMHA group tomorrow, in fact. So pleased to be launching this program shortly under the leadership of General Manager Kyra Kerr. And even more pleased, we are doing so with a fully funded pilot year, thanks to the government of Alberta. So we really appreciate the government's support. Our next example of Navigate in Action takes us out to Camp Chief Hector, YMCA at the foot of the Rockies. YMCA Calgary has been operating our renowned camp for over 90 years. And now there's a brand new facility to celebrate. You are looking at the Expedition Center, which is almost ready. Previously known as the Outtripping Center, this space is designed to accommodate all the necessary activities for summer campers to prepare for their multi-day trips. You know, this includes things like food prep and route planning and packing of tents and supplies. This new, largely donor-funded facility will be able to support other seasonal activities being determined by our Camp Chief Hector staff team. And it means we have the opportunity to extend the seasons of operations and grow the participation. We've already received inquiries from seniors groups and families seeking a YMCA experience. Our ability to plan and prepare these trips in non-summer seasons will be critical to doing this new work well. So doing more with more people in the outdoors, right on target for Navigate. And then our last example is a new area of impact for YMCA Calgary, food security. What you're looking at now are plans for KIN, Calgary's first Pay What You Want cafe. KIN is a project operated by our partners at the Leftovers Foundation, Western Canada's largest Food Rescue Charity. Oh, we're so excited to help them develop this new project with them to help fulfill their dual mission. Leftovers is about reducing food waste and also increasing dignified food access through community mobilization, in this case, the YMCA. This model is around reciprocity and trust. And our space at the Shaughnessy Y, a very busy complex that has a Y and a library, a high school, 4 community rinks, that's where Kin will exist, right at the corner where anyone can get food that needs food. So in short, if a kid from that high school needs a muffin before they go play basketball at the Y, they'll get that muffin, whether they have the money to pay for it in full, in part, or frankly, not at all. Now, we hope these 3 examples paint a bit of a picture of just some of the ways we're already bringing Navigate to life, how YMCA is evolving, with so much more to come over the next decade. Okay, friends, we're at the end of our time together. Before I do a few short thank yous, one final word about the YMCA at this moment. Though our facilities are closed and though we've had to make some really challenging decisions, I hope what you've seen and heard today, we're not closed for business. For 119 years, YMCA Calgary has supported the health of our communities, and the COVID-19 pandemic is no different. With the current closure of our facilities and many of our programs, we're relying on donations right now to fund our general operating costs and pivot our work to those resources you saw online and outdoors to support community needs as safe. That includes our virtual YMCA content. It also includes some of the readiness work that Shannon talked about to get us back and up and running when the time is right. As a member of the YMCA community, we need your help. If you're able, please support our YMCA through a one-time or a monthly donation. Every donation, big or small, will make a difference to ensure that we're strong and ready to serve in the way that we know best, in person. You can visit our website at ymcacalgary.org to donate. Well, everyone, that brings our second and hopefully last virtual AGM to a close. I'd like to thank all of my YMCA teammates, but especially my great marketing and communications team, Caitlin Slack, Haley Banyard, and Stephen Bellart. They were the elves in the back making everything happen. A special nod to all our speakers, and thanks to Allison Ainsley from Allison Ainsley Events, who provided her event management support. My name is Ken Limacuelo. Be safe, be well, and as we like to say, have a great YMCA day. Thank you for joining.